Hello friends, today we'll study one more simple grammatical lesson, that is finite and non-finite verbs. That means we'll study today how to identify finite and non-finite verbs. Now first, finite verbs. Now what are the finite verbs? So finite verbs are often group of words that include such supportive verbs and principal verbs, that is the main verbs. Now supportive verbs. Now what are the supportive verbs? Supportive verbs means nothing but it supports the subject. So supportive verbs has another name, that is helping verb. So here the example are given: can, must, may, could, should, might, would, am, is, are, was, were, will, shall, has, have, had, do, does, did. Okay. Now in the beginning, can, must, may, could, should, might, would, these all are the modal auxiliaries. You must have studied. Okay. So even these modal auxiliary, why these are modal auxiliary? Because they state some function, but still they are supportive verbs because they help the subject. They support the subject, and that's why they are also called supportive verbs. Now another word, second verb, that is principal verbs. Principal verbs means what? It shows the action. That means the verbs which shows the action by the doer or by the person in the sentence. So by the doer, with the words which shows the action is known as principal verbs. So principal verbs, that means the action verbs, it has different forms: present, past tense, past participle and present participle. Now first see, the example is given: remind. Now what will be the past tense of remind? Reminded. Past participle, reminded. Present participle, reminding. That means in is all forms. This so in the example we can see one reminded, we can say reminding, remind. Even it comes remind, so that also can be the finite verb. If we get reminded, it is also finite verb. Okay, and reminding, that also can be finite. So in the different forms it comes in example. Now finite verbs usually follow their subject. Now exact definition. What are the finite verbs? That finite verbs nothing but when they follow subject, that means when they come immediately after subject, so they are known as finite verbs. Now example: I like to eat chocolates. So see that three examples are given. In all three examples, the color, the words which are highlighted in red color, all are finite verb. I told you that finite verb can be supportive verb, even it can be principal verb. Okay. Now in first example, I like to eat chocolates. So like word, it is principal verb, but it is finite verb. Why? Because it has come immediately after subject. That means finite verbs always follow the subject. Okay. Second example: I have invited them for the party. So have, it is what? It is supportive verbs, right now. So have, it is also finite verb. Why? Because it has come immediately after subject. Now collected. In third example, collected word: I collected many coins of different centuries. So collected, it is also finite verb. Why? Because it is followed by the subject. Now we'll study about non-finite verbs. That means how to identify non-finite verbs in example. So non-finite verbs is a verb that is not finite. That means not governed by the subject, number or person. So that means it is not followed by the subject. Okay. So it doesn't come immediately after subject. Okay. Now there are the another way to identify non-finite verbs. So non-finite verbs come in the form of gerund, infinitives, participles. So that means how to what are the gerund, what are the infinitives, participle, we will study. Now gerund. Gerund means what? It is the ing form of the verb. That means the ing form of the principal verb. Suppose bake, baked, baking. Okay. Sing, sang, sung, singing. So when we add ing to the base form of the verb, so it is our gerund. Okay. Now gerund means what? In sentence, it plays role of verbal noun. Suppose I am afraid of swimming. My parents taught me dancing. So dancing, singing, swimming. So these are the verbal noun. It plays role of verbal noun. Okay. So that means when we get ing form of verb in sentences, so we can identify that is non-finite verb. Okay. Now next, infinitives. Now what are infinitives? So infinitives means when to is added to the original form of the verb, to the base form of the verb, to the base form, to the principal verb, action verb. when to we add, so it becomes infinitives. To bake, to sing, to tease, to dance. Okay, so suppose example that I like to dance. I would like to discuss my project with you. So to discuss, to like, these are infinitives. If I say she will go to market, to market, it won't be infinitive because market, it is not the verb, it is the place, and that's why when even to is added, so to market, it won't be your infinitive, because what I told, that only when we add to the verb, to the action verb, to the base form of the action verb, it is only the infinitive. Okay, now third is participles. So participles has two forms. Present participle, two types. Okay, present participles and past participles. So present participles means nothing, again ing form. It is like gerund only, but the function of gerund and present participle have different functions they have. Okay, so but the form is same, ing only we write. Okay, that means here only we to the base form of the verb, when we add ing, so it also can be present participle, right? Now just I told you, remind, reminded, then reminding. Okay, so when we add ing, so it also becomes to the, when we add ing to the base form of the principal verb, so it becomes present participle. Okay, now suppose she is singing song, I'm making chapatis. Now next one, past participle. Now past participle means what? Past participle, it is the third form of the verb. Okay, so generally this past participle, it comes in present perfect tense or past perfect tense. Okay, so remember that the third form of the principal verb is past participle. Okay, when this past participle come in the sentence, so easily we should identify it is non-finite verb. Okay, now with the example we'll learn that how to identify finite and non-finite verb. Okay, now see here, she is singing song. So singing, ing form, right? Now it is present participle, and that's why, and it is not followed by the subject, and that's why singing, it is non-finite. Second example, she called us to discuss project. Now to discuss, it is infinitive, right? Now discuss, it is what? It is principal verb, and the original form, that is the base form of the verb, and that's why when to is added, it becomes infinitive. So when infinitive is there, so it is non-finite verb. Why? Because it is not followed by the subject. Immediately after subject, it hasn't come. Now third example, reading book is a good habit. Now reading, it is what? It is gerund. It is playing role of verbal noun, and that's why it is also non-finite verb. He has scolded my brother. Scolded, it is what? Scolded, it is participle, that is past participle. Okay, that is a third form of the verb. Okay, so it is also non-finite because it is not followed, it is not governed by the subject. Say whether each of the verbs underlined below are finite and non-finite. Now see here, first example, we lack the confidence to see ourselves as a developed nation. Now here again see the words which are underlined, you need to identify whether it is finite or non-finite. So to see, it is what? It is infinitive, right? Now, and that's why it is non-finite verb. Next example, we stand first in producing milk. So stand, it is what? It is the principal verb. It shows action, but it is immediately governed by the subject. It is governed by the subject, and that's why it is what? Even so, it is finite verb. Now third example, I want to live in a developed nation. Now developed, it is what? It is past participle, third form of the verb, and that's why it is non-finite. We prefer. Now prefer, it is principal verb, action verb, but it is governed by the subject, and that's why it is finite verb. Indians never try to force their way of life on others. So now here to force, the word which is underlined, it is infinitive. Okay, now, and it is not governed by the subject, and that's why it is non-finite verb. India successfully performed her first nuclear test at Pokhran in Rajasthan. So performed, it is action verb, and it is past tense, okay, of perform, and it is followed by the subject, and that's why it is finite verb. January is the peak traveling season. So traveling season, so traveling, it is what? It is present participle, and it is not followed by the subject, and that's why it is non-finite verb. India is my country. is. It is supportive verb and it has come immediately after subject. That means it is governed by the subject, and that's why it is finite verb. I have consulted the doctor. Consulted, it is past participle. That is the third form of the verb and is not governed by the subject, and that's why it is non-finite verb. We played a defensive game. Played, past tense of play. And played, it is action verb, right? It is governed by the subject, and that's why it is finite verb. So friends, I hope you all have understood how to identify finite and non-finite verbs.